Oh, yes. God is good. So our theme this month has been about truth. And this notion that truth is everywhere is such a beautiful place, I think, to start. I know growing up, I used to think that life had some kind of big secret that was being kept from me. And I kept wondering sometimes, what did I have to do to find it out? My older brother used to try to convince me that he had it in his room. And since I wasn't allowed in his room, I was never going to have access to the truth. And he always tried to convince me as well that I would never be old enough to know or be able to handle the truth. And I can remember how happy I was to have a birthday, because that meant that I was going to be older and I was going to catch up to him. And I was probably about 5 before I figured out that every time I had a birthday, he had one too. And that I was actually never going to be able to catch up. I also grew up in a church that would preach to us as children, sitting here just like you are, that the people in my church had the truth, and that nobody else had the truth. And it wasn't just that we as Christians had the truth, but our particular form of being Christian had the truth, and even other Christians didn't have the truth. And with that truth, there was this notion that there were some people that God loved more than other people. And as a kid, that just didn't make a whole bunch of sense to me. And I realized it didn't make a bunch of sense to me because it wasn't true. And that's one of the first things that I want to say about truth is everywhere. Even if you don't like what you find out to be the truth, something in your gut knows it makes some kind of sense. As you get older, it may feel like twisted logic, but if it doesn't make sense, you haven't hit on the truth yet. I want you to really feel that. If you have not come to a place of peace within yourself, then you haven't reached the truth yet. Now, I want to make a distinction between the truth and being right. I want to make a big distinction between the truth and being right about the facts. When you are simply right about the facts, that doesn't also come with the peace factor. If you're feeling really, really right and really, really disturbed at the same time, then something's really, really wrong. If you're right and not at peace, something's wrong. And that includes you, even though you're right about the facts. Because the truth is big enough to have everybody in it. You can't be the only one in the truth. So that means your little brothers and sisters. That means your older brothers and sisters. That means the people you like, the people you don't like. That if you're really looking for the truth of something, in your mind, that has to allow some kind of place for everybody to come out okay. If you want to be the only one that's okay, that's not going to work. Beware of the tendency to wish bad things upon people that you think deserve it or have hurt you, because it has this boomerang effect. Okay? It has a boomerang effect. You may not like everything that people have done, but you can't lose sight of the fact that they're people. We have a tendency sometimes to make people what they've done. So I don't even see you anymore. I only see whatever. You broke my airplane model. You didn't invite me to the party. You messed this thing up. You said this bad thing. And when I see you, that's all I see. Interestingly enough, when people do that to us, we don't like it. When it feels like somebody's holding something against us and just won't get up off of it, particularly if we've already apologized and done everything that we can do, and still they're mad and still holding it against us, that doesn't feel good. Well, here's a practice of life. If it doesn't feel good when it's done to you, don't do it to somebody else. If it doesn't feel good to you. The problem with this thinking that we're right all the time keeps us from the truth. There's something bigger, there's something more that we can see. If, for example, let's say you have a game that you want to go to, and you're playing soccer, you're playing softball or baseball or something like that. And let's say that you have a little brother who, in your mind, is just tagging along and always trying to insert himself in your game. And you can't figure out why it is that he won't leave you alone. And he'll insert himself in the game in some kind of way and try to mess it up. And in your mind, you just know he's doing this to pester and torture you. You're just absolutely convinced of this, that he's not satisfied with his own toys and his own friends, and he has to have everything. He has to have his toys and your toys. He has to have his friends and your friends. And why in the world can't there be some boundaries? Why can't you have something of your own? Now, in your mind, you think he's doing it because he doesn't like you and he's trying to mess you up. Maybe the truth of the situation that he loves you so much he wants to be just like you. Maybe he thinks so much of you that all he wants to do is be in your space and around you and your friends. Maybe he keeps inserting himself not because he wants to mess it up, but he's trying to imitate you and to be just like you. Okay? If you stayed in your judgment and this thing that you had in your mind that he's just trying to mess you up, you would miss that. You'd miss that. But if instead of judging, you actually just prayed. Now, this may sound a little strange, but when you find yourself off or disturbed or confused about what's going on, what I want to recommend is that you just take a deep breath and just ask God, ask the universe, just go out, ask the sun, ask a flower what's going on. Just step back a moment and ask what's going on. And when you ask that question, you'll begin to see things that you couldn't see before. And with that new awareness, that, oh, my little brother really loves me, and this is his way of trying to love me, with that understanding, I'm going to not be so irritated with him. I might develop a little bit of compassion, and you know what? We might even be able to work something out. Maybe I spend a little extra time with him showing him the ropes, showing him how to bat, this or that. Maybe I can bring him along and give him something to do besides jumping the game. Maybe you can carry some equipment. Maybe you can bring the next bat up. Maybe you can chase the balls that went way too far, and it would interrupt our game to go get the ball. Make yourself useful. But that's because the truth would make it big enough for everybody to have a place. See? As long as I'm still stuck in, this is mine and you don't belong in my space. Those, listen up. This is mine and there's no room for you. Then we're going to miss it. This truth is everywhere. That was a tough one for me. Because it meant I couldn't hide anything. I used to think I could hide stuff. I used to think I could hide the truth. That if you just cover it up, don't say anything about it, maybe blame somebody else, hide the evidence, manipulate a few facts. Yeah, and I'm not going to tell a lie. I'm just not going to tell the truth. Catch that? No, I'm not going to tell a lie. I'm just not going to cough up the truth. And I remember, and actually I wasn't a kid when I figured this out, that if I didn't plan on telling the truth, what did I plan on telling? If I wasn't planning to tell the truth, exactly what was it that I was planning to tell? And there's this funny thing that happens when you don't tell the truth. One, there's a lot more to remember. There really is. And with every cover-up, it gets a little bit more complicated. And then you kind of forget what you said or forget what you didn't say, and you're busy trying to keep track of it. And what I can tell you is that if you just start with the truth and stick with the truth, there's not a whole lot to remember. You're not stressing. You feel more comfortable. And it was along the same line of this: if I'm not planning to tell the truth, what is it I'm planning to tell? The flip side of that coin was, if I'm convinced that the truth is not going to make the situation better, then what is? If the truth isn't going to make it better, is a lie ever going to make anything better? Is a half-truth ever going to make anything better? So when you're up against those situations and you're thinking, ooh, boy, the truth, huh? Really now? Okay. The truth? Like all of the truth? Like, we really did go over there and do that? And I really did forget this and that? And I really did, and they didn't. Ooh, boy, the truth. When you find yourself sifting and sorting, like, well, just how much of it can I tell and not tell, and how much can I hide or not hide? However upset you think people are going to be by your telling the truth, they're going to be more upset if you don't. Cut your losses. However upset you think people are going to be, if you tell them the truth, they're going to be more upset if you don't. People are more upset about deceit than they are truth. They are far more upset by the cover-up and all of the effort that's made to try to prevent them from hearing the truth or seeing the truth. And you can't start long enough. You can't start early enough in trusting the truth. You cannot start early enough trusting the truth. That there is something, even if you don't understand how it operates, if you're just willing to stand in that, this truth, this idea that no one has a lock on it, it's available to everyone, and it's big enough to include everyone. And it's bigger than my side in being right. If there's any part of you that's willing to just start with that as a given, I guarantee you your life will be so much sweeter and easier than anything that you can possibly imagine. There'll be a joy that you'll feel. There'll be an ease with which you can have relationships. Forgiveness will come a lot easier. You won't feel like you want to retaliate all the time. You'll be able to see people for the good that they are, whether they're showing it or not. I want you to catch that. You'll be able to see people for the good that they are, whether they're showing it or not. Aren't there sometimes when you know, I just used to be, sometimes I was just in like some funky, foul moods. I just hated everybody and everything, and don't bother me, and don't talk to me, and get out of my life, and, you know, what's that song? Nobody loves me, everybody hates me, think I'll eat some worms. You know, I mean, I was just in it. But I didn't want everybody else to think of me that way. So I wanted to be mean, but I still wanted people to treat me as though I was a nice person. I wanted to be revengeful, but I wanted you to forgive me for the revenge, because after all, you know that you were the one, and I'm just righting the wrong. Gets kind of twisted sometimes. But the wonderful thing, since truth is everywhere and that it's always available, it doesn't matter how long you've been lost. It doesn't matter how long you've been confused. It doesn't matter about any of that stuff. It's just sitting there waiting for you to acknowledge it. Isn't that wonderful? It's just waiting for you to acknowledge it. It won't leave you. It won't say no to you. Doesn't matter what happened or what goes on. And when you feel like there's something missing, when you feel like, people aren't telling you everything, you know your parents are doing that, or this grown folks business thing, pray. Ask God to tell you what's really going on here. Don't feel like you have to depend upon somebody else to tell you the truth. You have direct access to it. Just tap into it and ask for it. And it is yours for the asking. Do I have a witness in the house? Amen. Got a witness in the house.